Hey, welcome to another edition of Blue Jay Banner today. A very special edition today as we're joined by head basketball coach at Creighton University, Greg McDermott. Hey, coach.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, very good. Let's get started with if you had two takeaways from those two exhibition games, what would they be?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of takeaways. I mean, obviously my goal was to get as many guys on the floor as I could to get to have the opportunity to take a look at a lot of different combinations. I think we accomplished that. I'm not sure it answered many questions, but at least we accomplished that. And then I think the one thing probably from the Iowa State game was Nick Graves' ability to handle the pressure and the poise that he had against, one of the more unique defenses in the country.
Yeah, I thought that was spot on. I thought that was really good, because the good thing is you've played Iowa State enough now over the years to know it's kinda gotten the guys that have been here before kinda know, "Hey, you can't go down that baseline, guys."
Yeah,
It's death now.
it's a little different approach than what you're going to take with most teams.
Yeah. I was happy to hear you say after the Colorado State game that, like, this week is, like, one of the most important weeks of the year because I was thinking the same thing, like, "Okay, we gotta kinda figure out some sort of rotation here of what we're gonna do." How's the week gone as far as being able to do that?
Yeah, I thought we had good practices Monday, Tuesday. We were off yesterday, and then we have three important ones today, tomorrow, and Saturday before an off day. And then, part of our attention gets turned to South Dakota on Monday, Tuesday, and then we'll have a few days leading up. The Gonzaga's not to that following Tuesday, so we'll have a
Right.
couple more days there where we can really work on ourselves. But there's just, the practice so far. There's, it's a little bit slower moving in some ways because of the number of new guys. Like you have to make sure everybody's got it before you kind of move on to the next thing. And that's been a little bit of a slower process. So, these next 3 days, it's important that we get into a little bit more situational basketball, late game, different things that pop up over the course of the game that we've probably spent more time on in the past by this time of this point of practice. But because of this roster and the makeup of the roster and the number of new guys, it's been hard to do. But I was happy with our performance Monday, Tuesday, and I'm anxious to get back on the practice floor today.
Uh, Before we get into specifics, yeah, does it make it more difficult when you're trying to, or is it easier when you're trying to, whittle us down rotation? Because you've got a lot of guys that are flexible this year.
Yeah, it's been really challenging because you know, as I've mentioned many times, there are 12, 13 guys that have shown that they could help us. They could be in the rotation. They could provide meaningful minutes and help us win. But obviously, you can't do that. It's just that's too difficult of a path to walk if you're trying to balance something like that. So we've got to get it down to 10 guys and then maybe an 11th that's a situational type player that are ready to go. And that's been very difficult to do. And not because oftentimes it's you're trying to find that that eighth, ninth guy that maybe could come off the bench and there wouldn't be a drop off and they could provide meaningful minutes. It's been the opposite this year. We have a lot of guys that could, and I've got to try to whittle it down somehow. And I had some meetings, Monday and Tuesday, and it's getting clearer, but it probably won't sort itself out for a while.
Yeah. You mentioned balance a few times. How do you balance, like, you've got the new guys in here and you see their talent, yet you have players you've had before and you know what they bring and you trust their experience. Is that even more throw a more difficult wrench into the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, as coaches, and that's been part of the meetings I've had with the guys is, as a coach, when I put you in the game, I want to know what's going to happen, or I want to have a pretty good of idea of what you're going to bring to the table, and understanding your strengths, understanding what your weaknesses are going in, but I need to know what's going to happen. And and obviously guys like Fedor and Jason Green, um, they have the benefit of that in that they played a lot of minutes. I've seen what they've done in big games, and I've got a pretty good idea when I put them out there what's going to happen. And while a lot of these new guys have certainly shown signs of really good things, there's been a level of inconsistency that is normal when you bring new guys into a program. It's happened really with everybody we've brought in here. They haven't necessarily been consistent that first year. So I think as a coach, you lean on some of the guys that you know what's going to happen, and that gives Fedor and Jason. Ty Davis played a little bit last year, not as much as those guys, but it gives those guys an upper hand. Jackson and Isaac at the four, that's a different story. They've both been great. So it's kind of that wing position that's been a little cluttered.
Yeah. We talked to Jason after the game. That's exactly what he said. He tells the other guys, "Hey, you've got to go out there and, Mac's going to trust. If he trusts you and you know what you're doing and you're following instruction, you're taking a big step right there." Speaking of Jason, he got off to a little bit of a slow start at Colorado State, but Colorado State had, it seems like 20 years now they've had that guy, that 6A guy that's just a pain down there because he's so talented and he can use his body. I thought Jason got off to a slow start, but then I thought he really adjusted well, and I thought that was part of what helped you guys kind of pull that game out and extend the lead was his defense down there.
Yeah, his defense, and then he made some really good plays offensively as well, running the floor and around the basket, hit a big three at a critical time. So he's going to have to be our Swiss Army knife this year. We're going to use him in different situations at the five and some at the three, and some defensive assignments that are going to fit him better than some of the other guys, and then there maybe a few games that he doesn't play as much as he played last year. I don't know that yet. It's kind of based. You wait and see the development of these other guys when the lights come on, but. He's been good. He's been a great leader for us, and his leadership's going to be critical to this team.
Yeah. Is it going to kind of depend too, if at the five, the type of big guy you're going against?
Yeah, I mean, for a while we don't have a lot of choice because
Right.
Owen's going to be limited for a while. Karam cannot play on Tuesday. He has to sit that game. So it's all hands on deck at least for Tuesday. With Owen's still probably not ready to. We'll see by next week. How many minutes he can go, but I still think I don't think there's a scenario where he probably plays half the game quite yet. So that brings Jason and certainly JTT into the mix a little bit for that
Sure.
game on Wednesday.
JTT, Coach Huss has raved about him, the things he can do. And the one thing I thought was interesting, Coach said, was he's able to take it from one action to another. And like he mentioned, Mitch was a guy that could do that. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, and the pace with which he does it has also been really impressive. And part of it is he's played against Kalkbrenner the last 2 years. He's got his teeth kicked in every day, so he really has no fear. But he understands what we're doing offensively. He understands the importance of getting in and out of ball screens quickly. And sometimes in our offense, it isn't as much totally being in the right spot, but it's also knowing where not to be. And that's where I think some of our younger guys, especially the front line guys, are having a problem. They're getting caught in the middle of the floor 17 feet to 12 feet, and they're plugging everything up. If you watch JTT play, he's either on the top of the floor or he's flattening out that defense along the baseline, and he's doing it very quickly, and that opens up things for everybody else. So some of our new guys are kind of getting caught in between, not fully rolling to the basket and putting pressure on the rim, and then maybe not getting as quickly to the spots they need to get. But I think over time that'll improve.
I remember seeing him one day in practice, several days in practice, but I was like, man, there's something there. And then somebody said to me, well, it's behind Kalkbrenner and Fred.
Right.
It's kind of tough to get any action, man.
Yeah, he's not afraid, and he's been great. His voice has been awesome, and you tell him to do something, and it's going to happen. So he's getting a lot out of his ability, and his improvement from when he got here is it's just unbelievable. I remember the first couple of days thinking, this guy has no chance to survive here, and now all of a sudden he's carved out a little bit of a role with this team, which is pretty cool to see.
How's IT? Where's he at in his progression and adjusting to what he's gonna have to do this year?
Shooting at an incredibly high level in practice. You know, Ethan and Doug type level in practice, like ridiculous some of the shots he's making that and the range with he's shooting with it takes no time for him to get it off. He's doing it better on the move. Um, it's just the rest of the stuff. Defensively, his voice is as good as it's ever been. Um, I think he's guarding the ball better than he has in the past. Still gets a little lost once in a while off the ball, and we're trying to clean that up by watching some film. But he's been really good, and I feel comfortable at that spot with he and Jackson.
A guy that's new to the team this year that I've had a chance to get to know a little bit, Hudson Greer. I told people when he came in, I go, look, he didn't play with the guys he did in prep school who were all in the NBA. You know, that's only going to help him. So he's at times been impressive. At times looks like a freshman out there. What have you seen?
Well, Hudson's made it very difficult because a year ago, I wouldn't have guessed that he could possibly be ready to help. His body was, I don't know what he weighed, not very much, 185 pounds probably, still really skinny. And, I felt like it was going to take some time to develop his body for him to be ready at this level. And to Hudson's credit, he's, I don't know what he's 215, 217 right now. He's strong. Uh, he shot it at a very good clip. Defensively, he's got some intangibles there that are pretty good. Um, but again, he's at a really crowded position, and we did not anticipate that Fedor would be back, and we planned accordingly with that type of thinking that he wouldn't be back. So with him coming back, it's added a person in that mix that wouldn't have been there that makes it, pretty jammed up. So Hudson's done some really good things. Can he crack the rotation right now? That's yet to be seen.
Yeah. Uh, Ty Davis, a guy I've always I loved last year that he came in kind of fearless, came with the pace, and you can just see a big jump with him this year. Is he kind of one of the guys that's probably taking the biggest jump from last year to this year?
Yeah, he's taken a good jump, and he really had to spend a lot of time in the offseason reworking some of the mechanics of his shot that we felt he needed to change. And to his credit, he bought into that and spent a lot of time at it. And I think he's reaping the benefits of that now. But defensively, he's in the right place. He understands what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor. He's without question one of our best communicators and leaders on our team. So that part of it is invaluable for us, for Ty to have that consistent voice, whether he's on the floor or if he's on the bench. And whichever team he's running with in practice, he needs to have a strong voice. And you can tell that he's a coach's kid and's been around the game. He's got a high level feel for the game.
Well, I liked it when we talked to him at media day. He said, "Hey," he was the one player who sat down and said, "Hey, I know my role. I know what my role is going to be," and I think that kind of helped him settle in. Speaking of which, the other night, knocking down a half court shot, and I made the comment, "Hey, they practice." Everybody scoffed at me. Maybe hearing it from you, people will believe that every practice. Tell the folks what kind of goes on. It's kind of a DK thing.
Well, a guy shoots a half court shot before our huddle every practice. So one guy grabs a ball and fires a half court shot before we huddle, and I begin to talk to the team at the start of practice. But it's become a tradition at home games the day before the game. Once practice is over, we put 8 to 10 minutes on the clock. Everybody lines up, student managers, players, a few of the coaches, and we shoot half court shots. Once you make it, you're good. And then if you're the last one standing, you have to go up and run a couple laps around the concourse at the CHI. So it's been a fun thing. And guys get to fire up some half court shots. So, like Ty said, that preparation probably helped him a little.
I bet if you
But
just
it's something fun to do where, you're ultra focused on the game and the opponent, and now it's done for the day, and it's something kind of fun to end that practice, and guys laugh and make fun out of each other and make fun out of DK, and DK talks a lot of smack when he makes a shot, and he gets out before somebody else. So it's been a lot of fun.
I know I got a text one time, they're like, "Hey, come on." I go, "I can't. I don't wanna miss the half." They're like, "What?" And I go, "Oh, you gotta see it. It's great. It's great
Yeah, it's a
entertainment."
lot of fun.
Uh, so a little bit different this year where you're jumping, we're playing South Dakota. It's not a piece of cake game right off the get-go, and then going out to Spokane. So, really, a really challenging start for the team.
Yeah, and South Dakota's different in the way that they play. They're going to press really every possession, and so we have to spend some time the next week on preparing for that, and then to your point, to play a road game against a really really good basketball team. That they're obviously their guards are good, but their front line play is next level, and that's an area where we're still a little beat up and not totally healthy. So, we're gonna have to have some tricks up our sleeve to slow some of those guys down when that time comes. But again, that's you play those games this time of year. It's a great test. You find out, we're gonna find out how some of these guys are going to perform. Uh, Not being in the comfort of our home court and having to go to a very difficult place to play, and it's another chance for this team to grow.
Well, excited for the opener. I'm also excited. I'm going up to Sioux Falls Monday, so it'll be exciting to see Ryan's first game and see all the Jays that are playing on his team. Fred's off to a good start, so that'll be exciting as well.
Yeah, that's cool that he's gonna, especially being from South Dakota, to be able to coach his first game in Sioux Falls is will be neat for him, and obviously Jahans will be along as well, who's on his staff now. So I won't be able to go, but I know there's several people from town that are making that trip up
Yeah.
there.
You just remind me, Jehans is there. Jeez, I got to get ready for more crap from him.
Yeah,
Uh,
yes, you do.
just never get away from him. Coach, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Best of luck. Let's get it rolling.
Can't wait. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks, man.